Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today I am here to go through my June TBR. If I were to describe this TBR in 2 words, it would be queer and delusional. So I have been building this TBR throughout the month of May. In June, it is obviously Pride Month, and I am hoping to read only queer books throughout that month. I read primarily queer books at this point. I think I just checked and I've read a little bit over 60% queer books this year, which is the way I like to have it. But in June, we're gonna try and read only queer books. But I will say that over the last few days, I have been in a reading slump that I think has been caused by a 5-star read. Sometimes you just read a book that works so well for you that nothing else can quite live up to it, and so you're just struggling to find things to pick up. So these are the books that I'm kind of feeling. Obviously, since I am feeling a little slumpy, I will definitely not be getting to all of these, and I'm also, giving myself the opportunity to pick up other books that I might be feeling, because when you're in a reading slump, you gotta read what your brain wants you to read, otherwise you ain't reading nothing. So I have a bunch of books here that I am looking at reading. So I'm going to go through those. And then of course, we're also going to choose my challenge book, which I'm not sure if that'll be queer or not. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the books. I'm going to kind of start with higher priority ones and then go into lower priority ones. So the ones I talk about a little bit earlier in the video, I'm more likely to get to. Starting with 2 books that I'm like 100% certain I'm gonna get to. The first one is gonna be Icarus. This is by Kay Ancrum. This is an author I have not checked out yet, but I have a couple of their books on my TBR, so I am really excited to check out this first work by them. Hopefully I enjoy it and can check out some of their other work. I am gonna be buddy reading this with a friend of mine, so I will definitely be getting to it. So this is giving kind of contemporary vibes. We seem to be following a young man called Icarus, and he and his father are, I guess you could say, kind of con artists. His father is really good at painting replicas of very famous and expensive works of art, and then Icarus steals the original pieces and replaces them with his father's. And then one day he ends up getting caught by another boy, and instead of turning him in, this boy asks them to form a friendship instead. And it seems like things might get a little bit complicated from there. Some family drama, some romance. So I'm excited. I've heard relatively good things about this story, so I'm excited to check it out and to buddy read it. Another book that I know I'm getting to because it was my challenge book for last month or the month of May, and that is gonna be Heavenly Tyrant by Sharon J. Zhao. This was my challenge book for the prompt of over 500 pages. So usually I give myself a couple months to complete a challenge book. I definitely am not getting to it here in the month of May, so I will go ahead and be reading this in June. This is a sci-fi story where we are following a woman who has willingly joined the, I'm gonna say military. That seems like the right word. So essentially we have these pilots, one male, one female, who pilot these very large robots that are powered by the pilot's chi, and usually this ends up killing the woman because they have less chi than the males, and so it ends up draining them. And this has happened to our character's sister, and she kind of goes there for revenge, and she ends up getting it by killing that pilot because she is actually stronger than him. Instead of celebrating her strengths, the military decides to set her up with an even stronger pilot in hopes that he kills her, but instead these two are able to find a balance and work together to not only fight against the aliens that they are trying to protect their kingdom from, but also try to make a change to the patriarchal military society that they are living in. So this does have a poly romance in it, so that is what is queer about it, and I am very excited, if not scared, to get to this book. The next 3 books are off of my summer TBR. I decided to put 3 on here just because in the month of July, obviously during my July TBR, I'll talk about it more, I'm planning on reading primarily ebooks, so I wanted to see if I could get at least half of the 6 books I put on my summer TBR on this month's TBR. So the first one is probably the one I'm most excited to get to, and that's A Gentleman by TJ Alexander. This is a historical story featuring a trans main character, and he is a lord, and one day he's informed that he would lose his estate, his money, everything if he does not marry. And this is very difficult for him because he's not interested in women, it seems. And so he decides that the first step for a successful fake marriage, I guess you could say, is to hire a trustworthy staff. And one of the people that he hires is a new valet, and it seems that the two of them get rather close. So I am very excited. I've heard really good things about this story, and I do love me a trans main character, and I've had pretty good luck with historical queer stories as well. Up next, we have Road to Ruin by Hannah Lee. This is a sci-fi, I believe it's young adult, and this is another one that features a poly romance. We are following a messenger who rides her bike across these wastelands, and she spends a lot of time delivering love letters from a princess to a prince, and she is actually in love with the princess and the prince, and it seems that something causes the 3 of them to come together. And I love me a dystopian story, which this is. I love me a poly romance, so I'm hoping that I have a really good time with this one. And the 3rd book for my summer TBR is going to be Canto Contigo by Johnny Garza Villa, not villain. He's not evil. And this is just giving summer vibes with this gorgeous cover. We are following a young man who was at the top of his mariachi band, and he and his family actually end up moving, and at his new school he is hoping to become one of the top mariachi band members again. I don't know any of the terminology for that, but he has some competition. So this seems to be maybe a little bit of rivals to lovers. I actually think that they have a bit of a history as well, which will complicate things a little further, but I am very excited. I have read and loved this author before. Up next, I have a series, and that is the Captive Prince trilogy, as well as the short story collection. A couple months ago, I decided that in June I wanted to do my spoiler-filled vlog of this series. I am still hoping to do that. I will say that I am currently struggling through a vlog right now because of my reading slump, so I'm not sure if I will have the energy to do another vlog in June. It really depends on how my slump is doing, because I love this series and I really want to go ahead and give it my best. I don't want to force it or anything, but if I do have the time and energy, I'm hoping to go ahead and read all 3 of these, as well as the short story collection. This will be my 3rd time reading this series. This is it's technically a fantasy romance. I would say it's relatively light on the fantasy, leaning more towards historical. It has a lot of historical inspiration. It's not like based in actual historical events or anything like that. So we are following 2 characters. Our narrator is Damon, also known as Damianos, and he is the future king of Aklios. That is until his half-brother ends up capturing Damon after their father's death and shipping him off to TBR, which is a kingdom that they have complicated relationships with. They have been at war with this country. Right now there's kind of peace, but he is sent there to be a pleasure slave to their young prince Laurent. And when he gets there, he realizes that politics aren't just messy in Aklios, they're very messy in TBR as well, and maybe he and Laurent would be better as allies than as enemies. So I'm hoping that I'm in the mood for this, but you know, we'll see. A couple other books that I'm hoping to get to, and then we'll get into some Kindle books as well as some audiobooks. Up first, we have a book from the library, which is Godly Heathens by H.E. Edgman. This is the author of The Witch King, which is a book I had, or a duology that I had a pretty decent time with. I saw a lot of potential with this author. The second book was definitely stronger than the first, so I can see them being an author that is just going to grow more and more. And this is the next book in a new series that they are writing. This, I believe, is a YA fantasy story, and we are following a young non-binary teen, and they are just doing their best to keep everyone from realizing how much of a disaster they are. The only person they're really open and true with is their friend who lives, I believe, on the other side of the country, who is another trans person that they can really relate to and be their true self with. And then one day they stumble across this girl named Willa, and they feel like this strong connection to her, and then someone tries to kill them, and then Willa informs our character that she and them are reincarnated gods that have been in love in the past. The only problem is that our character is the reincarnation of a god that hasn't always been the most benevolent. So I am excited to go ahead and check this out. It sounds really exciting, and hopefully this is one of the ones that I am able to get to, because I've been eyeballing it for months. The last physical book is gonna be The Husky and His White Cat, Shizun by Raobao Buchi Rao. I am sorry if I mispronounced that. I have been wanting to get back into Danmi. This is the next one that I am hoping to get to, so I'm putting it on this TBR. These are always a commitment because the series are pretty long and they are relatively detailed, and so it's very difficult to get back into them if you put the series down for a while. So once you pick up a Danmi, you kind of gotta like dedicate at least one book a month to it. We'll see if I will be starting that journey. In this book, we seem to be following a man who rose in power throughout his life. He slay a lot of enemies, and one day he dies, and he is given the opportunity to be reborn. Not like reincarnated, but like go back and be reborn at him as himself and relive his life. And instead of like becoming a better person, he was like, you know what? I know who all my enemies are. I know everyone who will try to knock me down throughout my life, and I'm gonna get to them first. I'm gonna kill them even sooner. And one of those people is his very attractive teacher. So I am very intrigued to check this out. A lot of people who read Danmi, this is often at the top of their list. The only other one that I've read is Heaven's Official Blessing. This one apparently is a lot steamier compared to Heaven's Official Blessing, which is like pretty much on the very mild side. Like there's no smut at all. I don't know if there'll actually be any descriptive smut in here, but from what I hear, it is definitely sexier and maybe a bit more explicit compared to other books I've read in this genre, and I am excited to check it out. All right, so jumping into the Kindle books, I have 4 that I'm kind of eyeballing. The first is going to be Headcase by Only James. This is the 5th or 4th book in the Necessary Evils series, and this is essentially a serial killer psychopath romance situation. We are following a group of adopted brothers who were adopted by an eccentric billionaire who wanted to adopt sociopathic or psychopathic children and raise them to be vigilantes, to kill bad people instead of just killing random people. And in each book, we are watching one of them fall in love as much as a psychopath can with another man. These are all male romances. In this book, was it Ari? It was one of the twins. We have a set of twins, and this is following the first twin, and I believe he ends up falling for a reporter, which when you are living in a crime family is probably not the best thing to do. I also know that he kind of for the first time is set on a case without his brother. Usually the two of them are like 2 peas in a pod. So we are definitely going to be watching him be outside of his comfort zone. I am excited to continue with the series. I had a really great time with Moonstruck, the book that came before this. It definitely hinted at a lot of future relationships, and so I'm hoping to keep up my momentum with this book and get to the next one in the series. Talking about continuing series, next book is Star-Crossed by Ali Theron. This is an ebook I would be getting through my library. The first one was called Spellbound. It was actually one of my challenge books, but I had such a great time with it that I'm looking forward to continuing the trilogy. And in this book, we are following 2 characters. We have a man who's able to touch objects and see their past, which can be very dangerous because he can get stuck in the past, and so he tries not to use his powers very often. On the other hand, we have a man who does not seem to have any magical abilities. However, he works with people who do have those magical abilities and kind of keeps them safe and maybe solves cases that involve these characters. And the 2 of them stumble across each other as they are trying to figure out why this very dangerous relic is being brought to, I believe it was New York, somewhere on the East Coast, and to figure out what the people who are bringing it are intending to do with it, if not take it from them so that they can't use it. So I had a really great time with the story. I enjoyed the mystery, the world building, the magic, the writing, as well as the romance that was developing between our 2 characters. Up next, we have King of Hell by Morgan Dante. This is an author I read before, and this book, there's something about the synopsis that just intrigues me. It just seems ridiculous enough where I think it'll be a really fun time. I believe we are following a vampire that has died and gone to hell, and he now works for some sort of demon warlord kind of situation, and he approaches this demon and is like, hey, I would like to return to the human world so I can hunt down my lover who staked me. And the demon is honestly like, yeah, sure, let's go. I'll go with you. And I think that there may be a zombie apocalypse going on when they arrive there. And I think it's also a romance between this demon and dead vampire dudes. So it sounds interesting. I know that I like this author's writing, so I will see if I have time to get to it in June. And the final book that I would read on my Kindle is another one that I would get through my library, and that's Learn My Lesson by Katie Roberts. I did read the first book in this, which was called Desperate Measures, and these are part of the Wicked Villains series, which is like retellings or stories inspired by Disney characters. This one is Polly because it is between Meg Hades and Hercules. It is kind of set in a modern world where characters are like mobsters or business owners or club owners, you know, things like that. And I believe Hercules is really in love with Meg, but she belongs to Hades. And he's like, I'm gonna go rescue her. The only problem is he realizes that she is exactly where she wants to be, and he, I think, starts to fall for Hades as well, as the three of them do their thing. These stories are definitely more erotic than anything else, but I did have a really good time with the first one, and I believe this is one of the more popular ones. I have to admit, at this point, I've heard people talk about so many of them that I don't know which one people do and do not like, but fingers crossed, this is one of the ones that people enjoy more, and if I get around to it, hopefully I enjoy it as well. I have selected 3 audiobooks that I would like to get to. The first one would finish up a duology, and that is The Brightness Between Us by Elliot Schreffer. This is the sequel to, was it called The Darkness Between Us? It's been so long since I read it, but this is a YA sci-fi. I can literally tell you nothing about what the second book is dealing with, just because in the first book it has a huge twist in the middle of it that completely changes the trajectory of the story. The only thing you really need to know is that we have 2 young men who are on a spaceship on a mission to rescue, I believe it is one of their sisters. They are looking to find a habitable planet so that humanity can escape planet Earth because it is being destroyed. So I had a really good time with the first one, and I've heard good things about the second one. I read the first one as an audiobook, so I figured I would continue the series that way. The next 2 books are going to be standalones. The first one being The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. This is just a book that I have heard such great things about. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything negative about it, and I just have never picked it up. I went through this phase where I kept being like, oh, I'm not into YA stories anymore. That's a lie. I do still enjoy YA stories. I mean, primarily queer or kind of the horror thriller genre, but this is queer, obviously, based off of the title. I believe we have a young Latina who, she might have been kicked out of her school, or either she relocated and she is now attending a Catholic school, and she decides it is best for her to go back into the closet to avoid any issues. Other than that, I don't know too much going into this book. I just figured everyone loves it, so I will go ahead and check it out as well. And finally, a pretty different book actually is gonna be We Came to Welcome You by Vincent Torrado, and this is actually an adult horror story, and I believe we are following a couple that has moved to a gated community. It says that this story is queer. I have to admit, I'm not sure if we have queer side characters. I know the author is queer, but I'm not sure if we're following like a queer couple or what. But essentially, they have moved into a gated community. I believe they are Black, and so the HOA, which is made entirely of white people, starts terrorizing them. So I have heard people say good things about it, despite the fact that this does not have the highest rating. But whenever it comes to the horror genre, I don't really pay attention to ratings because it's so subjective. I feel like what people like in the horror genre is just vastly different and very personal. So I am excited to check out this story, and I figure it might be a little bit of a different vibe than some of the other books that I have on my TBR. All right, guys, we are on to the final part of this TBR, and that is going to be my challenge cup. Now, last month, I ended up pulling the Throne of the Five Winds by S.C. Emmett, which you can see is huge. I think it's slightly over 650 pages. Have I started this book? Absolutely not. Is this book queer? As far as I know, no. So will I be starting it this month? I highly doubt it. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but it's here. It's on my TBR. I will eventually get to it. But let's go ahead and select another book, and maybe it'll be a queer one. I'm not really sure which books I have in here anymore, which I'm pretty sure I've said every single month, but let's see what feels right. This one keeps wanting to capture my finger. You can sit there. Oh my gosh, I'm scared. What is that? Is that the right way? Oh yeah. Oh, it's the nonfiction. Okay. Unwell Women by Eleanor Cleghorn. So this is the nonfiction book that I put into my challenge cup. I believe this book deals a lot with women's health and the study of women's health throughout history, and probably also just how badly we have been failed as a chronically ill woman. Trust me, I know that the medical world is very difficult to navigate, so I am very interested in this. I will see about getting my hands on it through the library. I have been slacking with my nonfiction books, so we will see if I can find some time to work my way through this. All right, guys. So these are all the books that I'm hoping to get to in the month of June. I'm excited for a lot of these books. I would happily pick up any of these today. Well, I mean, I am a little slumpy, so I'm like not super thrilled to pick up anything today, but still, I am excited that I have put these on my TBR, and I will try to get to as many of them as possible. I would love to know if you have read any of these books, if there is any that you really would love me to prioritize because you're interested in hearing my thoughts. I would also love to know which books you are hoping to read in the month of June. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!